ref. Actually got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans all around the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys, Dave and Jack. This is your time of the week where you guys can come on and have your say on all things Tottenham Hotspur. If you are a member, the link is up in the post section on the channel. Just go there, click on the link, and it will bring you into the back end. But we are actually doing a fan show, finally, off the back of a win at the weekend. Good first half, poor second half. You know, some people blame Ange Postecoglou. Some people are maybe blaming the players to a certain degree for taking the foot off the gas. Come on, have your say about that. Also about the whole penalty incident. You know, have your say about that. Also, a rare bit of good news on the Tottenham front today. Kevin Trapp, Frankfurt's #1 goalkeeper, is out injured for the first leg, which means they will be relying on the backup goalkeeper. So that's a rare bit of good news for Tottenham Hotspur. So hopefully we can create chances and test him, especially earlier on, I would argue. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about Matisse Tal. You know, has he done enough to convince people to part with the 50-60 million that's going to take to bring him in here? Has Brennan Johnson off his road yesterday played himself into the Frankfurt team? Incidents like the penalty incident, does it maybe suggest maybe a split in the camp, because you had Romero who ultimately made the decision, but then you had someone like Madison on the sideline throwing his arms up, questioning why his best friend Johnson wasn't taking the penalty and stuff like that. Also, fairness, does Brennan Johnson deserve a lot of credit for not making a massive meal out of it once the decision was made? Who should start a fullback against Frankfurt on the weekend? Kulusevski potentially being back. Do you throw him in? And if you do, midfield or out wide? And how much would a boost for the Spurs fans would a win against Frankfurt be? So there's plenty of stuff to talk about. We're not going to waste too much time here this evening. We're just going to get more or less straight into it, bring the guests on, hear what they have to say. Also, yeah, people are tuning in at home that maybe don't want to come on and have their say. Get your thoughts in the comment section on what we're talking about, or anything that you maybe want us to ask people, or stuff that you want us to discuss. We'll bring them up and we'll make sure that gets done. And look, these fan shows aren't all about coming on and just agreeing with our opinions and stuff like that. If you disagree, I want to hear from you guys as well. Enlighten me, or try to anyway. I might argue back if I disagree, but at least try come on and maybe make me see things differently. But Jack, anything you want to say before we get going?
No, it's like you said there towards the end. It's the opportunity for other people to have their say, you know, get their voices heard. Of course, we try to address plenty of the comments, you know, in the chats of various streams and YouTube videos, but, you know, there's only so much time for that. Whereas, you know, with this, you know, it's your floor, it's your mic, it's your opportunity to, you know, get things off your chest, any frustrations, anxiety, maybe nerves ahead of the Thursday night game. Plenty of good questions that Dave has cooked up as well for you guys. And would like to see some more people come on, take advantage as well as maybe of some memberships. You know, if you've ever been gifted one in the past, make a debut, come on, have your say. Not that big of a queue in the background anyway. So if you wanted to pop on, now would be a great time to do so, because you would be pretty close to, you know, being high up in the order and high up in the queue. And, you know, in terms of the game yesterday, I'm happy with a win, you know, despite what, you know, has been said. You know, I think we are, you know, usually pretty delighted just to see Spurs win. You know, it could be a 1-0 win against Tamworth. At the end of the day, you know, we'll still be kind of celebrating it to some extent. And I think actually, you know, Ange Postecoglou was sort of let down by some of the finishing in that second half. I don't think we were unbelievable by any means in the second half, but I think certain players like Dominic Solanke might have let him down, where we could have won that game maybe 4-0, 5-0. I think even Sonny might have had a chance there in the second half as well to put Southampton away. So definitely something to be said there about, you know, Spurs maybe not finishing the chances and then making it harder on themselves, which we've said plenty of times before about this season. But again, like you said there towards the end there, Dave, you know, people come on, have your say, give us a different opinion, or, you know, just give us your opinion that maybe we don't get to hear in voice. You know, we only maybe get to see in the comments and things like that. So please, everybody, come on, take advantage, please.
And in terms of yesterday's game, Jack, I think, look, many people are actually happy with the first half from, you know, what I'm seeing everywhere today in terms of reactions and stuff like that. Many people are actually pretty happy with what they've seen in the first half. And I would argue if it wasn't for VAR, we would have been 3-0 up, and the second half might have been different with Southampton maybe resigned to being relegated and stuff like that. But, you know, where many people have been left frustrated is that second half, you know, the fact that we didn't really push on and press the issue and force ourselves on them and stuff like that. But, and I think the consensus coming out of it is that many people are blaming it on Ange Postecoglou, and this is what he's asked the team to do. But I was listening to Alan Pardew on TalkSport last night, and interestingly, he was saying that, despite sometimes as a manager telling your players not to do that, they end up doing that because they have one eye on the game on the weekend. And even though you try and make subs and all to try and impact it, maybe, it doesn't work out like that because they're all thinking you're keeping themselves fresh for the big week game. So I want to know if people, where do you sit on that side of the coin? Also, I want to have a discussion around VAR tonight as well because, look, the last two games, and look, I could pull out many games this season and over the last few years, but the last two games especially, we had two the other night that took like 5 minutes each, another one the other day that took 5 minutes each. And I just think it's absolutely killing the passion in terms of celebrating from the players and the fans. And I'd argue it's probably leading to a bigger disconnect as well to a certain degree, from fans and players. I'd argue it's also disrupting the flow of the game. And I think it's getting to the point where it's actually killing the game of football. And I think it's starting to hinder what we're actually seeing rather than help it, which is what it was brought in to do, And I'll just have more of a conversation and see how fans are generally feeling about it now. Because I know when I tried to raise it before, a lot of people were maybe still with VAR. I just wonder now, the longer it goes on, are people's opinions on that starting to change? But look, one thing I think we can all agree on, 5 minutes per decision is taking the absolute biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
But look, I suppose we'll welcome some people in at home and we'll crack on and start getting the guests on. Shem Tam, good to see you. Hi, Jack and Dave. Hope you had a great weekend and are feeling good, not getting my hopes up about Thursday, especially how abject we looked yesterday. But I live in hope. And I think, look, many Spurs fans probably feel like you today, Shem, where they weren't really, yes, they were happy a win's a win at the end of the day, and we're happy just to put 3 points on the board and temporarily, to a certain degree, stop the Tottenham being clowned on to a certain degree, but hasn't exactly lifted many fans' hopes or beliefs heading into the Frankfurt game. I think many people feel like you, my man. We did miss you yesterday, though, by the way. We did miss you. We've also got Moondog in the house. Good evening, Dave and Jack. Ange out. Big up, Moondog. Good to see you in the house. Hopefully you're keeping well. Let me know, though, Moondog, if we did show good... if we did get by Frankfurt, would you give them a chance in the semi-final? Let me know, Moondog. Or are you pretty decisive? No matter what happens, you're sort of you just want them gone at this point? Because I do think most fans are like that now. I think it's the fact that he keeps hitting back at fans on top of us losing games of football is where maybe fans don't give him, will not give him a second chance, which I fully understand. To be fair, Alpesh Patel says, "Evening, Dave and Jack. Absolutely shattered." Tired, only 5 hours sleep in 48 hours and going to the match in between.
Jeez.
Night's great win, but win what's put in front of us, which is the poor Saints. No, absolutely spot on. And look, that's why I was making a point of it yesterday. Like, let's not get too carried away. Yes, go off, enjoy your evening. You don't have to worry, sit there and worry about Tottenham crashing and burning and falling apart. We finally won a game of football, but let's not get carried away.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't rip them apart. It wasn't overly exciting in the second half. But to be honest, I'm surprised you didn't use the second 45 to sleep, Alpesh Patel, and catch up on it. But big up, my man. Good to see you. What commitment. Did you get down to the protests as well? And by the way, fair play to Change for Tottenham, actually, just quickly while we're on that subject. They are doing a great job of bringing everyone together and getting them down behind the message. And I think they're doing an absolute brilliant job. They're letting the message carry it, and the more evidence that we're getting on the football pitch that things aren't working and stuff like that, the more people are throwing their weight behind the message. So fair play to them, and hopefully it can continue, and hopefully the outcome of it can be, if anything, the minimal outcome of it can be that it actually gets Daniel Levy to go after the window with a bit more gusto this time. In the summer. So let me know if you end up joining that, Alpesh. Big up Jimmy Hotspur as well. Big up everyone. Good to see you. We've also got MJ Marcus, Saint Gentlemen and chat. Hope all is good with you all. Yeah, we're all good, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also have Just a Harmless Potato. Hello all. Big up Jack and Dave. Respect the grind. Big up Just a Harmless Potato. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Good to see you in the building. How are you feeling after yesterday? A bit like Shem, maybe not as confident heading into weekend. Let me know. Jimmy Hotspur says, what front three would you start with on Thursday? I do think Brennan Johnson's played his way in the team. I think the fact that he's the club's top scorer, I think you do have to play him, to be quite frank. I think Solanke probably will start through the middle and Son off the left. I know there was an image of him or video of him limping after the game. I would hope that he's there for Thursday. I would hazard a guess. I think he will be okay for Thursday. So I do think it will be Son, Johnson and Solanke. Jack?
I still might lean towards Odeberg just because if you're going up against this Frankfurt team, I imagine
he wasn't happy with him though after the game yesterday. He said it took him a long time when he brought him on to get going.
I felt that way. I don't think Odegaard played that great, since coming on. I just think he offers that creativity that we've been needing, in games. I understand Johnson provides the goals, but against Frankfurt, I'd expect that they'll have a stubborn defense for the most part. And Johnson, in that situation, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily play as well. I think he does well when there is maybe a leakier defense, when there is
Mm,
space for him to run into the box, and he just takes advantage of good chances being provided for him. And I just wonder against Frankfurt, if that's going to be the case. I think some of the chances might be few and far between. There will be,
mm,
maybe half moments, half chances, but we need to have sort of a consistent creative style and play. And I think Odegaard
mm.
provides that, on that right hand side. I think he
Sure.
can be a nuisance for the opposition defense. But I think that's probably minority opinion now. I think a lot of people would go with
Mm,
Johnson. The guy practically scored a hat trick, or maybe should have scored a hat trick, really. And it's not his fault that he didn't. It's that penalty that he earned was taken away from him. So he has a lot of reasons to be frustrated if he weren't to be picked Thursday night. But then again, we all always have said too, he's a very good player off the bench. He's a good impact
mm,
sub, and can be kind of a guy that can come on and provide a late winner or add maybe to the goal tally. So personally, I'd stick with Odegaard, but I could see why
mm.
people feel differently.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's just I know Postecoglou said after the game yesterday, and it wasn't just he was making a broader point about the players, sort of slacking off yesterday, and that he wasn't happy with a lot of the second half performance and what he's seen. But he did say with Wilson Odegaard, he brought him on. He didn't really get going to the last 10 or 15 minutes, and it sort of frustrated him. He said, he didn't come on, he wasn't prepared, he wasn't ready, didn't do what I needed him to do and stuff like that. So it'd be very interesting. But look, personally, I would like to see Odegaard given another opportunity, but I just think that's the front three that Ange Postecoglou will pick. Let's wait and see, though. What would you do, Jimmy? Let us know. Big up IrishHotpsur, big up all. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you, my man. Up for your keeping well. Colin Turner says we will need a minimum of a 2-goal advantage on Thursday. I agree with you. I don't want it to be like the Liverpool game where, we had chances to maybe,
Yeah.
take extra goals with us and we only go with 1-0 because look, from my experience, when we only have that one goal, we very rarely hang on to it, and we sort of know what ends up coming off the back of it. I just hope we don't rue missed chances, because I remember when Pedro Porro missed a huge one. I remember saying to Jack at the time, so I have a niggly feeling this is going to come back to bite us, in the second leg, and ultimately it did. But yeah, I do agree with you. We do need a bit of a cushion going away because, look, that Frankfurt atmosphere, that is absolutely wild out there, by the way. People praise the likes of Dortmund and stuff like that. Their atmosphere from their conquests across Europe the last few years has been absolutely insane. It is fanatical.
I can, yeah,
And
I can attest to that.
our players will be rocked.
Frankfurt is regarded as one of the more loyal fan bases, one of the more stronger fan bases. And when you think about it too, they're nowhere near as successful as the Dortmunds or the Bayerns or plenty of the other, clubs that do have a pretty rocking fan base. Like they have a very, very strong ultra culture. And just, I remember even going to Hertha Berlin games. And I remember in particular, the Frankfurt fans showed up in numbers and were
I
definitely
remember
far
seeing
more
videos of
plentiful.
them chasing West Ham and Rangers fans around the place,
Yeah.
when they were meeting them late on in European
And,
competitions.
and they're not really associated with being, a club that's winning things, year after year or anything like that. They just have a very, very strong following, over there.
Yeah.
So it will be a difficult atmosphere. So all the more reason to have that 2-goal advantage. You're absolutely spot
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely. I just think, we were rattled going out to Galatasaray. It's probably going to be worse than that to a certain degree. So, you're absolutely spot on. Goals is the aim of the game Thursday night. David Clark says, lads, but when have you ever seen an Ange-led team come out in the second half and immediately up their game, putting pressure on opponents, but ended up having pressure put on his team? No, look, I sort of agree with what you're saying. There's been a few there's been a lot of sloppy starts, in the second half of games. Was it Leicester? I mean, they scored 2 goals in 5 minutes or something like that. There's Chelsea the other day was another example, straight after halftime, piss poor for the first 10, 15 minutes. You're absolutely spot on there, Dave, to be fair. Alpesh says not going to the game on Thursday because yet again I have plans going to my second passion, seeing live music. This week's it's the Zotans. Look, I'm not familiar with them whatsoever, but David Craig, I was well on board with Last week, by the way. I listen to his music still to this day. I love a bit of David Craig. Absolutely great. Be great to see you as well when we're over there for the Palace game, Alpesh. Big up, Arts T. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Tenor Pool is in the house. Youth project below 19 years is no good. He says we should have signed players above 21. I was trying to say that in the summer. I got absolutely ridiculed. Mary W says you never know what is in store. Absolutely spot on. You're definitely right there. Paddy Harnett says, afternoon, folks. Hope all are well. What happens Thursday happens. I have already switched off for the season. Did not even see the game yesterday. Went playing paddle instead.
New popular sport.
Simon Jordan.
Yeah, Dave and I have been talking about this behind the scenes. Pickleball's become very popular in the USA, but I think paddle is one that's more popular in Europe as well as some other countries in and around the world. And I've actually always wanted to play it. It looks, in my opinion, more fun than actually pickleball. I think it has a cool element to it. I like the cage, sort of element to it. Like the fact that it's, the closed walls and around you, and you can hit it off the walls and stuff like that. It looks like a really cool sport.
Paddle is the new golf. Golf exploded, because all these professional
during COVID,
from the NFL, basketball, and football, people are out there, they can use that to relax without pulling hamstrings and all. Paddleball is becoming the new golf. I'm waiting for the day I see it on Sky Sports all over the weekend. Honestly, it's becoming a joke. But anyway, Paddy, good to see you, my man. And look, times are tough if you're switching off. You're one of the most dedicated fans I've ever met in my life. But big up, Paddy. Hopefully, in general, life is keeping you well, my man. Marius Cito, great name, says, big up. I will be realistic about this team and I go with all good say, which goes expect the worst, because if you get something for it, you will be happy. End season, Enoch altogether with Levy can go. No, look, you're absolutely spot on. I've sort of started adapting that approach myself to a certain degree this season. Expect nothing. And, then when you do, when you become absolutely elated. But you're absolutely right. Look, the ownership, we're going one way over it since Pochettino. I would argue, they've done well up until the Pochettino, sort of brought this club forward. But since then, they've just let it completely slide back down the rails to where they end up first buying the club. It's gone that far backwards. It's absolutely madness, Marius. And I do think they've probably taken it as far as they can to a large degree. Good to see you, Marius. Big up, Big Mike as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hopefully you're keeping well. He must be happy after yesterday's win. Big up, Big Mike. Good to see you, brother. We've also got Mick Hermanock in the house. Good evening, Jack and Dave and Moondog. Good to see you. We've also got Moondog here. He says, no, Dave, I want him out. I can't handle this crap next season. And look, that's a fair one. What I would say is I do think if he wins the Europa League, whether we like it or not, I think we're all just going to have to suck it up and go into next season. Look, it very well could be a wrong decision there, even if that's the case. You look at Eric Ten Hag, the following season didn't exactly pick up for them. But I would argue, United fans would probably love to get back to getting Ten Hag still picking them up a trophy to a certain degree. But I do agree with what you're saying there. But I just think if he does win a Europa League, everyone's going to have to suck it up and, just support her going into next season. But I can understand, and I am getting like everyone I speak to. I mean, every Spurs fan I speak to, even people that, sometimes I stop and talk to on the street or whatever, they're all done with Ange. They're all done with him. I haven't spoke to, one person, bar maybe a couple through the chat here that maybe still have even some sort of goodwill left towards him.
No, I mean, it's true. Like at the end of the day, like a lot of Spurs fans would not be able to put up with another 20-loss season. Like, and I don't even know if Daniel Levy would be able to put up with another 20-loss seasons. That's just the facts of it. Whether you're a big Ange believer or not, that just can't happen next year. And his career, as Dave and I have well said before, like his career is absolutely resting on him going as far as he can in this Europa League here. So that's just how it is, and that's why Thursday is Judgment Day. Moondog, it's Judgment Day for Ange, and it's Judgment Day for the Spurs squad.
Yeah, it's Thursday is absolutely huge. It is huge, but I'm not gonna lie, sort of excited for it. To be honest with you, I get all the pressure and everything else around Tottenham. But at the end of the day, this is a European quarterfinal. You know what I mean? And I am buzzing for it. To be fair, big up Moondog. Good to see you in the house. We'll take a couple more comments from the chat here, and then we will. Absolutely crack on. I want to say a big up to Davey Hall as well. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, everyone. Can't wait till the season is over, as our midfielders just don't have it. They're a bit too slow and just don't create enough. Do you know what, Davey Hall? That's another discussion that I think, I was maybe trying to save it towards the end of the season, but it's probably the right time to start having these discussions. It's clear that everyone agrees this squad needs major surgery over the summer. But everyone sort of has pinpointed different areas. In reality, it's probably, right through the spine of the squad that needs to be strengthened. But, I sort of want to try and find out where people are at in terms of what needs the biggest surgery. Is it the back line? Is it the midfield? Or is it the front line? Because look, you've got people like me who have been on the case for 2 years, said this front line isn't good enough. It's nowhere near good enough to take us where we want to be or match our ambitions. Then you've got people that say, look, the midfield is nowhere near good enough. It's far too open. It's far too easy to play through, which I also agree with. And then people said, oh, that back line's useless. It's nowhere near good enough and stuff like that. So it's really hard to know. And the reality is we're not going to fix everything this summer. We never do. So it's, I'm not even going to sit here. I want us to, and I will place that demands. But the reality is I already know they're not going to meet them demands. So we're all going to have to pick and choose. We'll prioritize probably two and leave the rest, for the manager to sprinkle magic and become Harry Potter again. But big up, Davey. Good to see you. Big up, Scotty Hynam. Great to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. Dante's in the building. We need to go out Frankfurt and be clinical. If we are away at their loud stadium, we will otherwise be intimidated and crumble. And you know what? I just hope that there's a lot of recognition with it and honesty within the camp that, okay, that away atmosphere might get to us. We have to go at them this game. There's no point of us sitting in, protecting. I think it's the home leg. I think you've got to go and try and get your job done and give yourself something to hold on to. But look, the manager ain't going to sit back. We sort of know that to a certain degree. So we can't expect Tottenham to try and attack. It's just whether we've got the confidence on the evening to break them down or not. But big up, El Dante. International Observer says, if Thursday's Judgement Day, then Spurs will continue in the current mediocrity into the coming seasons. We are not an Ange protection society. Have failed even if he wins the trophy. We need a fresh leader. No, look, that's fair enough. If that's how you say it, that's absolutely fair enough. Look, I think what maybe is meant by Judgment Day, it's not like people are going to judge him off Thursday. But if we don't come out with a good result or we, basically, look, this should probably go to the second leg against Frankfurt, is where I think it'll go. But after that, that's where I do think the club will make the move, whether they're going to keep him or not. But I think, to be fair to maybe your comment, a lot of fans have already made up their judgment. You're absolutely spot on there. I want to say big up to Blade68. Good evening. It's been a long time, my man. How are you keeping? I haven't seen you in ages.
Thanks for supporting us.
If we don't win both home and away games, and should go. No, look, I think that's what me and look, I've been saying it since December, January. The guy will be here as long as we're in the Europa League. And I think many people are expecting Frankfurt to be a pretty tricky game. And look, many are fearful this is where our Europa League could come to an end. If he gets through, then we're in a semi-final all of a sudden. And look, I'll take that at the end of the day. 20 losses this season, all the misery's got to be for something. So hopefully we can get there. Big up, DB. Good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well.
Legend.
I want to say big up to RST in the building as well. Big up, my man. And I'm going to take this from Trinidad. Rectus Madness is in here. Johnny's in here. K32.
Legends. Legend.
Annie and S as well. Legend. Good to see you. He says the midfield and the front line are below par. Kind of agree with that, definitely. If we keep Cutie and Van de Ven. Look, I think we should. I think that's a good spine back there of Vicario, Van de Ven and Romero. We should build off that personally. Big up, Jason Bell. Good to see you. K32 says quickly, just to be honest, we're lacking quality all over the field. I start with midfield, especially as experienced defensive midfielder, also decent winger who can cross and beat his man. Absolutely spot on. And then where was Trinidad? Big up, Rectus Madness. And then I think we'll take one from DB as well. And then we'll head in to the people. Trinidad says the ultimate end game for Ange and the club. And this club, no Europe next season. I fear for the downward spiral makes us unattractive for talent, manager and players. We'll just get more gold diggers. Come on, you Spurs. And look, I think that's the biggest fear. I think that's what you open yourself up to, especially and more so when you finish lower down the end of the table. You will get people that maybe will take advantage of that to a certain degree. But for me, it's all about, you're probably going to lose some of your best players. Some of the youngsters might also walk away seeing that there's not going to be enough game time here for the next season and stuff like that. So, I think it opens up a lot of not good stuff for Tottenham over the summer. It's going to be one cagey summer, that's for sure. And then DB says if he wins the Europa, then he leaves on a high. No way he stays. No room for sentiment. Imagine, oh my God, his tactics in the Champions League. My word. DB, let's not think too far ahead, because I don't even want to think about Champions League right now. We're so far off it, my man. But no, look, I do understand what you're saying. I do understand what you said. But look, I suppose that would pose the question. If he did win Europa League, and this is all, of course, hypothetical and in, all this sort of bullshit. But if he did win it, DB, and then we actually went and had a proper summer transfer window like we were supposed to have last summer. Could you make the argument then you might see a better standing on the pitch if you bring in better players? I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that. I'm probably just upsetting DB right now, to be honest. And big up Terry Wright as well, Min Chi, and Mr. Marquez as well. Well, look, I suppose we'll get cracking.
Yeah, great job,
I'm going to
Dave.
take more of the lead on this one. Jack is a bit sick this evening. In fact, I did tell him take the evening off. I'll do it. And he said, no, I need to be there. So fair play to the commitment. But I am going to take the lead on most of this one. So if anyone seems that Jack is a bit quiet tonight, that's why. He's got a stuffed up, bunged up head, and no one can think straight when you've got that going on.
No, great intro though, Dave. Great job. Thanks for introducing everybody, bringing everybody in, and you got plenty of good questions for the people.
Well, I hope so. Anyway, I like to think they're intelligent questions, but usually when I ask them, they don't really land as well. But big up, Dermo. How are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm all right. Happy with the win yesterday, but we got to keep it into perspective. It was only Southampton, but a win's a win. 3 points is 3 points, and it gives you that confidence going into the game on Thursday, where it is vital we'll come out with a 2-3-0 lead. You can't go to Germany with a 1-0 lead because we'll just get absolutely hammered over there. I think the best chance is to win at home. But look, a win is a win, and that's all you could ever wish for. That's all you ever want when you turn up. It's 3 points.
No, look, I sort of agree with you. I think Thursday night we really have to show what we're made of. I think we do have to grab a couple of goals because I do think their atmosphere, I do think the first 10, 15 minutes, because I've heard reports of their stadium actually bouncing, the concrete bouncing, with their fans and stuff like that. So, I do think with how rattled we were against Galatasaray, that could easily equate to one goal inside the first opening 10, 15 minutes of the game. So I do agree. We've got to go hard at it in the first leg. But does that mean then your boy Brennan Johnson, look, it's hard to know where you're at because, yesterday you were disappointed that he was in the lineup. Then he went and scored 2 goals. So what do we do Thursday now? Because, if he didn't do that, Wilson Odegaard would have been a shoo-in. But now it begs the question, has Johnson played himself into the team? And look, Postecoglou came out with a lot of praise for him after the game, basically saying, look, he's our club's biggest goal threat, which, I mean, you can't really argue with it to a large degree because he has scored the most goals this season.
Yeah, and also he's equaled Harry Kane with 10 goals and 10 assists. He's the first one to do it since Harry Kane. So do you know what I mean? That's no mean achievement either. Look, I do love Brennan Johnson. There's no question that I do think he's a talent. I think he does frustrate me at times. And that's the problem. It's more frustration because I know the talent is there. There is the talent there. And you look at both the goals he took yesterday. Absolutely fantastic goals.
Good finish.
And I think also there was a maturity of him yesterday, not making the scene out, not getting the penalty, just saying, okay, it is
just
what it is.
Just while you're on that, I actually want to read out Brennan Johnson's quotes about that because I think he took to Spurs Twitter to sort of give his side on it. And he said, I've been in this situation before where I've had people wanting to take the ball off me and it kind of unsettles you a little bit. I knew the game was pretty much done, but still, I didn't want to unsettle anyone or start any disagreement. So once the decision was made, I just got on with it. And you know what? I think he deserves absolutely massive credit there. A young guy with a wise head on his shoulders, real. And you know what? Put the team first. I actually like that, to be fair.
I do. And you look at the debacle with Chelsea earlier in the season, all of them arguing with the ball, who's going to take the penalty. And you look at yesterday, Brennan Johnson, right, I'm not taking it. Just get on with it. Romero did a captain's job, right? Mateus Tell's taking it. I'm leading by example. You do what I say. I'm the captain. And Ben Johnson said, yeah, fine. No problem.
Do you know what with that though, Dermo? Because I was reading stuff today and then looking at images and stuff, and James Maddison was also apparently on the sideline, throwing his arms out as to question why Brennan Johnson wasn't taking it. And they're supposedly like best friends at Tottenham Hotspur, and with ultimately Romero taking the ball and giving it to Matisse Tell. Look, like I said, I've got to credit Johnson for his reaction. Premier League hat-tricks don't come around every day of the week. And very rarely are you in a position to get one. And he could have kicked up a massive fuss, and he didn't. So fair play to him. But the fact that you've got, players split on it as well, does that maybe allude to a bit of a split in the camp, to a certain degree, that some players are more looking out for their friends and other players are saying no, team first?
I don't think so. I think it's just more disappointment that Maddison had for his best friend, for his mate. Like it's like if we were playing and Jack was on a hat trick, and I took the ball and said, "No, I'm going to give it to Donovan." Say, you're going to be and you're on the sidelines. You're going to be disappointed for Jack for not getting his hat trick. I think it's just human nature. It's just human nature of just being there for your mate. But look, Mateus Tell got his first goal at the stadium. I think that was important for him. I think Romero, as I said, led by example. I'm captain. This is what we're doing. And Brennan Johnson shows the maturity that he's growing into a mature footballer and a mature person. They said, you know what? The team comes first. The result comes first. And that's what I like about Brennan Johnson. Everyone slags him off, and rightly so for some of his performances. Right?
It's not slagging him off, though. I think we've got to change the terminology on that. It's more critiquing what he should be doing that he doesn't do than actually slagging him off.
Yeah, well, I've seen some people slag him off, but
yeah, but it's the minority.
Yes, the minority. But I think if you look at it one way, I think yesterday proved what a good footballer he is and what a good finisher he is. He's one hell of a good finisher. I think if he can just improve taking on his man a bit and improve that, I think we've got a really good footballer on there and a talent. And maybe he's a late developer. I've said this before on here. I think he could be one of these players that is a late developer. Then suddenly out of nowhere, he just blooms. So, and I always say, like Gareth Bale. When Gareth Bale was at the club, I mean, he was playing left back. People wanted him sold. Harry Redknapp changed him to left midfield. The rest is history.
Massive difference with Gareth Bale, though. It was 20 games he struggled.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you look at the first games he played for Tottenham, people wanted Gareth Bale gone because every time he played, we lost. Then Harry Redknapp changed his position. And for Gareth Bale, the rest is history then. Now, I'm not saying Brennan Johnson is the next Gareth Bale, but I'm just putting into perspective. If you tweak something in somebody's game, it could unlock. That could be the key to unlock the talent that player has. And that's what I'm saying. Gareth Bale, no, absolutely woeful as a left back. You put him on the left midfield. He's tearing up into Milan. I was watching that the other night. He's tearing up into Milan. AC Milan went on to be probably one of the best players in the world, probably at that time. So it just needs something for Brennan Johnson just to unlock the key. And once that key's unlocked, then we may see a really good footballer on the hands and somebody who's not big-headed and committed to the team and the cause. So
what does he do then over the summer, Dermotron? Does he just sort of work on elements of his game, in order to improve? Because that's what obviously needs to happen, right? He needs to improve either his crossing or his ability to create, for others in some manner, whether it's taking it past players, whipping in crosses. I think, right, maybe he could bloom, but it's not going to happen just magically. Like, he needs to actually put some work in order to do that.
You do. You look at all these good players that put work. You look at Harry Kane. How long did he say after training, practicing? And I think the summer is he has to put work into his game. If he does that, then puts the commitment in, then I think we've got a really good player on our hands. And I'm sticking by him. I'm sticking by him that he will bloom. He'll be a late bloomer. A manager will come in and unlock that key. And once that key's unlocked, and if he commits himself to improving where he's fallen and start the next season beating these players, getting the crosses in, scoring goals.
So you think a different manager can bring the best out of Johnson? It won't be Ange?
I think so. I think so. I really do. I think he's got to show the commitment, but I think Ange has probably not. I think Ange's system doesn't suit him, and I think it just needs. Look how he played up in Forest when he played up there. He was killing it, and that's the player
he was playing on the right wing then, and he has better results, with Spurs.
Yeah, but I just feel a different manager unlocked the key, and Gareth Bale, I think Brennan Johnson will be another winger that we will look back in years to come thinking he was good. Not on the Gareth Bale level, and not even on the Aaron Lennon level, but I still think he will be looked back in years to come think, it wasn't as bad as we all thought he was when we were seeing them.
So it sounds like you're starting him Thursday night, Tron. Would you start him Thursday night?
I would, yeah. I'd start him Thursday night. Okay. I think he deserves that. I think he deserves that after 2 goals. I think he deserves that.
Yeah, I think he will start Thursday night, for sure, off the back of his 2 goals. I think you're correct there. Let me ask you, though, because, I do hear a lot of more conversations lately, people may be saying, look, change Brennan Johnson's, position, put him up front. Or, you hear other people making the argument, change the system to a 4-4-2, and that's where you'll get the best out of Brennan Johnson. Is that maybe what you're hinting to? Because, look, I know what you're saying with Gareth Bale, right? But, Gareth Bale had the curse for 20-odd games, and then, he never looked back. But he got it pretty quickly at Tottenham.
Yeah,
a lot more quicker than what Brennan Johnson did, to be fair.
I would agree
I think
with
someone else makes a point there about Sissoko. He was shit at first too, but I'd argue he's still shit in the centre of midfield. He was, he was good at going around tackling, but you couldn't pass the ball to the guy. He couldn't do anything with it. But do you sort of subscribe to that notion with Brennan Johnson that maybe we are playing him in the wrong position, that maybe we should look at him up front or change the system all for Brennan Johnson?
I've always said play Brennan Johnson sort of in that 10 role, where he give him that bit of a free role that he can float around, be there. I mean, I've said it before, being at the near post in that 6-yard area, being there, catching them, getting the balls, being there at the right time is a talent in itself. Great strikers. Gary Lineker was good at it. Gerd Muller back in the day was good at it. You look at other strikers. I mean, I can remember Totti, forget his name in Italian 90. The Italian striker, he was there in and there around the 6-yard area. It's a talent within itself. I think.
But you're telling me that player didn't have other talents, like being able to hold up the ball, play other people in and stuff like that. Let's not pretend he survived just off scoring goals and being a fox in the box.
Let's put it this way, right? Philip Brady always says to me, Jimmy Greaves would do nothing for 8-9 minutes of the game. And then the 6-yard area, he'd bang in a goal. So, do you know what I mean? Having been there in the 6-yard area, being like a 6-yard box player is a skill in itself. You don't do it by luck. You do it by talent.
Well, it's not enough skill to rely on.
He just needs to improve on the rest of his game, which Jack has rightly said in the summer. He needs to improve on that. And I think he will. I think he will in the summer. I think he want to come in next season with a point to prove. And I think that's what he needs to be told by whoever is the manager. Go away, improve myself, and prove to me you're worth a start next season.
I don't even think it should be on the manager. That should be on Brennan Johnson himself. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, even when he was the best, he still worked on being better every single day. That's got to come within.
Yeah, it's all about working on your game, isn't it? It's all about working and improving.
But it comes within yourself. Coaches can guide you and tell you need to start doing this. But at the end of the day, it's only you that can make yourself better and stuff like that. Yeah. And look, I would argue, does he? I'm not quite so sure. I think maybe he's happy with where he's at. But look, I do want to take some comments though, Dermo, that we can get you involved in as we move along just here quickly. We've got Blade68. He says, sorry, I haven't been on for a while. I've been recovering from cancer. I'll take this just quickly. Look, first of all, recovering, absolutely brilliant to hear, my man. And hopefully you're through the dark ends of it now and you're coming out the other end of it. That'll be absolutely brilliant.
Let's hope so.
Please keep us updated on your progress and, keep coming in here and dropping in here when you can and when you feel good to, update us on your progress, my man. But, look, great to see you coming back from a big up, Blade. Fair play, my man. Absolute legend. We've got Adrian Brown says, big up all. How many are on tonight? Book my Tottenham versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, he texted me that.
Today. Absolutely brilliant. Can't wait to meet up with you, my man. It'd be great to see you before the game. Big up, Adrian. Great to see you. We've got a few here in the back end. I think we've got 3 more after Dermo. So if you want to pop in, feel free, my man. We've got Kulu's elusive right foot. Great to see you. Mary W says, Sonny, very poor first season. Many wanted him gone back then. Look, that's an absolute fair point, Mary W, actually. Jeff Ives, good to see you. Johnson ain't even the next Garrett Southgate. Pissing myself laughing. We'll take a few more. I do have comments here that I do want to get down to for you, though, Dermo. We've got Kevin Staunton says Southampton game was the first game this season. I don't care about the performance. 3 points, no injuries was objective. All about Frankfurt. If we go out Thursday, Ange out. That's an absolute great comment. Fair play to you on that one, Kevin Staunton. I think many people are with you on that one. Big up, Kevin. Great to see you. Any relation to Steve Staunton, the great Steve Staunton? Let me know. We've got Ugly Fish. Johnson is limited, but a good squad player. If we had a world beater in front of him against teams like Southampton, he can score goals. I think that's an absolute great point. And then Knight of Republic says Tella's not getting into the first team at Bayern for a reason. I don't think he suits us like Richarlison or Solanke. As a club, we consistently back the wrong players and managers. I think that's an absolute fair point. Knight of Republic. Look, that's a question I'll probably bring up at times tonight as well. Does anyone really want to sanction that big amount of money on Matisse Tel? Because I don't. We roughly put up about 100 million a summer transfer window. And if 65 million is that has gone on Tel, then it limits what we can do elsewhere. DB says, Dermo, Lennon or Mora, not Bale for fuck's sake, buddy. Although with a decent coach, I think there is a player in there. But Ange just made him a one-trick pony. He scores. That's the hard bit of a coach will add to. And then we'll take a couple more comments and let you come back in off the majority of them. But then you've got H, who says isn't the highest score in Ange's system. Johnson, I'd say he's absolutely tailor-made to the system, which I can understand that point of view. But then, we've got Knight of Republic, which I'm going to come back to, which is the one I actually want you to answer. Big up Ian Ferguson, great to see you, and King Huddle. Good evening. In Ange's defense, I would say we've got 13 points from our last 8 games. Prior to that, it was 4 points from 8 games. He did say results will pick up where players are back, and they have. Yeah, but not the way, many people wanted him to, the King Huddle. But I do see what you're saying, but I'm not sure that's a great defense of Ange Postecoglou. And big up Ian Ferguson, good to see you. But Knight of Republic says, would Johnson bring a trophy to Spurs long term? I don't think so, in my opinion. Look, I mean, if Harry Kane couldn't deliver a trophy, or for Tottenham or Son couldn't, I don't think Johnson has a chance. But I presume what he's maybe alluding to is, can Johnson get to that sort of level of player?
Yeah, why not? Any player can. If you work hard enough at it. You look at Harry Kane. He worked hard in his game. After training, stayed behind, worked hard, dedicated to his craft, become the greatest striker in the world, and probably still is, at this point. I don't see why not Brennan Johnson aiming high. What's the point of aiming limited? Aim high. Dare to dream. You can do whatever you want to do in life. You can be whoever you want to be. As long as you've got the commitment and you've got the dedication, you can be wherever you want to be. And if Johnson dedicates himself right to his craft, dedicates where he's failing, and improves where he's failing, why not? I'm not saying he's the next Gareth Bale. I'm just using Bale
anyway.
Well, yeah, but also I'm using it as an example. I know that. I'm using that as an example that Bale, first 20 games, absolute useless. Harry Redknapp changed them. The rest is history. So why not? Why not? And I think he can. And I think it's great. I think he's the club top goal scorer. And I think I like him. I like Brennan Johnson. I have a great time for him. And I just want him to prove everyone wrong. And like Ange as well. I want Ange to prove everyone wrong. I really want Ange to do well. I want him to go out on a high. If he is to leave, I want to go out on a high. But look, it is what it is. And please, just one more thing, Dave. Get rid of VAR now. It is killing the game. I don't want it in the game. I don't want it. I'm just had enough of it. I'm going to do a video on it. I'm really going to do a rant on it. I cannot stand VAR. It's ruining the game for me. You can't even celebrate doing a watch along now. You have to wait 5 minutes for go ahead. Can we celebrate now, please?
I mean, I went crazy the other night when Sarr scored, only for it to be ruled out, and sit there for 5 minutes and having to wait for it to be ruled out. It's just pity. Look, I've been against it from the very beginning. But anyway, Dermot, before we let you go, I do want to give you the right reply here. You've got Rob Hotspur. He says, I don't think I've heard anything more stupid than putting Johnson in the number 10. Put him in the middle where you have a very little time and the technical ability. He will get absolutely roasted. So I'll give you the right to reply, and then we'll plug your channel.
You're entitled to your opinion. That's it.
Come on,
you're entitled to your opinion.
Do you agree with him?
No,
do you disagree?
I do disagree. I do really disagree. And if it cause, I just think Johnson is. I think give him a. I just see Johnson in the number 10 role or up front. I think you will see a player there. Don't be limited. Don't be, just because he's a right winger. How many times has Sonny played up front? He's a left winger. How many times has Sonny played in the number 10 role?
Yeah,
how many times has Sonny...
He went back out to left wing, so let's not use that as an example.
Yeah, but the point I'm making, why not?
Fair
why
enough.
not? And you're entitled to your opinion, Rob Hotspur, and I respect your opinion. I respect it, and you're right in what you said. But, this is what football is. It's about opinions. This is what football brings out. Football brings out opinions in us all, rightly or wrongly. It's all about opinions, and that's what I love about the game.
Look, I will say, apart from the first part, I do love you, Dermo, but I do agree with him in terms of what he's saying, about you do need that technical, aspect. There's a lot less space in the middle to work with. That's why them players are well revered when they can do that. And I do agree with him. I don't think Johnson has that ability. But look, anyway. Dermo, what's coming up on the channel, my man?
More bombshells and more hand grenades being chucked. See what happens. Yeah, if you've liked what I have to say, come over to HFC till I die. We're sort of on the march to 3K. I would love to get up to at least 2,100 by the end of the season. So we're sort of, I think, 40 something away from that. So I would like that. But yeah, if you can come over, come over and give us a sub and a like. And I'm going on there shortly. Got a new fella starting. We're teaming up with Footy Stateside as well, which is really exciting. And Colin will be back. He's just working his ass off in his new job. And yeah, we're just going to talk things Spurs, what we love. But like and subscribe here first. The channel that gave me my break in YouTube, and got nothing but respect for these guys. So thank you very much. And I love coming in these fan shows and enjoy it. And Jack, I hope you feel better, man.
I appreciate it, John. I'm just it's just a regular cold, but I'm actually hopefully getting through it, in the shape of 24 hours. Just last night, I was close to texting Dave. I'm not sure if I would have been able to do anything today, but I do feel a whole lot better today. Just came over me very quickly.
And we will start that whiskey thing when we get over to London. We'll come up with ideas.
Build an empire. Appreciate you, John. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for getting us started, man.
Have a good evening,
problem.
Dermo.
Yeah.
Have a good
Come
one,
on,
my
you
man.
Spurs.
Come on, you
Spurs. Big up. Where to get it going with Dermo? He's back behind the Johnson train. He's back on it. He's probably leading the, driving the train right now. But absolutely love to see. Let's take more comments and then we are going to crack on. Where are we? We have Wind Rider in the house. Great to see you. Great name. Says rumors have it Levy being in contact with Southgate. Honestly, if that happens, my worst fears have come true. Absolutely come true. That guy is way too soft to manage this football club. Naughty Paperclip, even all, good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Vandal Ross is in the house. Good to see you. Big up, Vandal. Hopefully you're keeping well, buddy. Good to see you, my man. How's life treating you? Great to see you in the house. We've also got Cynical Dad. I think with a manager who's tactically savvy, Johnson will shine through in a proper attacking setup. Interesting. What about H's point? That the fact he is the top scorer and that maybe he's absolutely suited to this setup. Let me know where people think on that. I think you're seeing two different ends of it. Let me know where people sort of stand. DB says 47 points for 40 games. Yeah, look, I agree. It's nowhere near good enough. We do need better. But we also need a massive transfer window this summer. A manager just ain't going to change our fortunes. Conte told us that as well. Need a
13 points. 13 points from 8 games is still close to mid-table form, if not even lower than that. That's half of, not even like just below or just above half of the available points. It's still, as much as it is better. It's not ripping up any trees. That's for sure.
It's nothing to be fucking jumping up and whooping and wallowing about anyway. Mario Sato says, I believe that I am not the only one to see that many big teams are struggling now, and reasons is very clear to see. It is owners of those teams. Seriously, I do expect many more protests soon.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that's a very, do you know what? I think I actually sort of agree with that to a large extent. Big up, Rick C. Great to see you. He says, VAR isn't going anywhere, unfortunately. Honestly, I'd love to see every club, across the Premier League on the weekend go and protest against VAR. I'd absolutely love to see it. I think it's absolutely killing the game. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the amount of money they spent on it ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And I just think they're going to keep ramming it down our throats until it comes to a point where we're satisfied with it, to be honest with you. I definitely agree with that. AK Shake says he's too soft, Dermo, about Brennan Johnson. We've got Daniel says Johnson got pace and finishing ability. Not much else. I sort of agree with that as well. King Oddle says, I can't see Johnson as a 10. Technically not good enough, and range accuracy of passing not good enough either. Certainly agree with that. We've got Bex Daniel says, thank Jesus we won yesterday. Big win, well-needed confidence booster for the squad. Positive should have been 4-5-0 in the first half. We have a great chance to make 10th. Bring on Thursday. Well, that's very, very optimistic, which, look, I'm all for. If anyone can give me more optimism, I'm all for it. But look, is it a confidence booster within the camp? Probably, the fact that they've won a game, we've scored a couple of goals. I do agree with you. On another day, we could have maybe been 4 or 5 up at half time. But I argue that's been the case most of the times. This is my big frustration under Ange Postecoglou is, that we just don't capitalize on games or in moments enough when we are in the ascendancy and stuff like that. And it's one big bugbear of mine. But look, I also argue I don't think the forward line is good enough. A lot of it is made out of relegation fodder. I think which needs massively improving on. And then we've got Nape the Ape. Says, I'm struggling to understand the Bale scenario comparison. Isn't Johnson much older than when Bale debuted? Certainly had more Premier League games and already playing the correct position for his game. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Big up, Luke, as well. Great to see you. Big up, guys. I hope you're well. DB says, no, don't sell it like that. If you disagree with me or want to debate, come over to THFC tonight. That will make them come. Absolutely fair point, my man. Great to see you. But look, we're going to kick on. We're going to keep cracking on. We're going to get to more guests. We've got Ghosted says Johnson would be as good as a 10 in the contest system. Well, guys, we are approaching the hour mark. The link is still up in the community section. If anybody does want to come on and have their say this evening, I'll leave it up there for about another 5 or so minutes, and then we'll take it down. I think it's been up there then long enough for people to maybe register if they want to come on, or let us know if they want to come on. But look, let's keep it moving. The next guest we have on is Rhino. Let's hear what he has to say. Big up, Rhino. How are you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys?
Yeah, not too bad. You happy clapping after yesterday's 3-1 win? You happy with it?
Do you know what? I'm happy with it, but I'm not as stupid or as delusional to think that we're gonna keep this run going, because it's delusional to think that we're gonna keep winning after, because it happens every time, Dave.
To be fair, Ryan, it's not even a winning streak. It's just one win, and some recent losses. So the real question is, do they carry on from the win to then pick up another win against Frankfurt on Thursday? And we're labeling it as the Judgment Day. I mean, would you agree with that title, to call it Judgment Day on Thursday for Ange and for the players? Because that's what everybody's been building up to.
Look, I see it more as it's just another game. We need
Thursday
to win.
evening?
European quarterfinal, there's nothing about it that gives you a little bit of a chubby, no?
No.
Fair enough. What are you expecting to see Thursday night? Because look, you've sort of been consistent with your view about Tottenham all along. To be fair to you, what are you expecting from Thursday night?
Well, I'll give you both sides to this. I'll give you the fantasy side of what I'd like to see happen, and then I'll give you probably reality after. Right?
I'm not sure I want to hear the fantasies, but go on.
Right. What I'm looking for fantasy-wise is a good performance and winning 5-0. But reality tells
what if we win 2-0? Would you be happy with that?
I'm talking about fantasy here, mate, at the moment. Yeah. I'm not even talking about reality, but I'll get into reality in a minute. But, so that's what I think when it comes down to a fantasy side of things. Reality, we really need to take more than a goal lead.
Yeah.
Out there. But do I honestly see it happening? No.
No, look, it's not going to be an easy game against Frankfurt. It's going to be a tough game. The atmosphere is going to play a massive part as well. I do agree with you. I think we need to have a very good game Thursday night. And I think the fact that they're using their second choice goalkeeper, look, I'm not going to get carried away. I've seen it more than enough times at Tottenham. I remember Travers stepped in for Bournemouth years ago. No one ever heard of him. Young Irish goalkeeper saves absolutely everything that comes his way. There's a possibility that could happen. But, I would hope someone like Brennan Johnson can come in at the back post.
That would be Spursy of us. I said that would be Spursy of us if that did happen on Thursday night.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. But you wouldn't be
able to make it up either, though, Dave. Would you really? Because it'd just be something that you could see happening.
No, 100%. 100%. Let me ask you, Rhino, did you watch the game yesterday?
No.
No? Okay. No. Well, look,
one thing, because it wasn't broadcast, that's why.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
That's
true.
why you need a NordVPN, Rhino. But look, just one thing you were well clued into, was the protest from Change for Tottenham ahead of the game. What do you make of the protest? What do you make of the turnout of the protest and stuff like that?
Well, look, first,
Is Levy shaking in his boots, do you think? Or at least starting to?
no, unfortunately, no. Not
Why do you
until
think
we
why do you
get.
think he's not phased by it? Because this is, 2 times in a row now, 2 pretty big turnouts.
Yeah, like, look, right? Credit where credit's due to Change for Tottenham, right? You keep doing it, guys. Like, in the end, you'll probably get enough fans to actually turn up to start having Levy.
There's been a couple of thousand at the last few, though. They did them fucking brilliantly well. Like,
Especially 2 times in a
100,000.
row, I think is significant.
It's no mean feat. It shouldn't be taken lightly. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not discrediting them in any way. I think they need to keep going and pushing forward with this. But what I'm saying is I just don't see Levy being scared of just a couple of thousand. Like, over the last 2 protests, what, 5,000, should we say? Compared to how many people literally turn up out at that stadium week in, week out. Do you know what I mean?
Look, I get that, but I think, the more evidence you're getting on the football pitch of teams sliding backwards, I do think more naturally, more and more people will move over. Look, at the end of the day, Rhino, everyone has their own breaking point. Everyone goes to the ground on the weekends for different reasons. Some to escape life, go down there, just try and enjoy the day out, be around their sort of people and head home. Everyone goes for different reasons and stuff like that. But I do think the more things get worse on the football pitch, I think the more people you see get behind it.
Well, then, okay, right. This is going to be an interesting question then, Dave. Right? If that's the case, now I believe you, yeah? Then
you don't have to believe me. That's just my thoughts. Go on.
No, I believe you, right? So then, why have I not been anging all this time? For something like that to happen, I should.
I don't get what you're asking me right now. No, I don't get what you're asking me, my man.
Right, because you said, right. The more things get worse, right, at the club, and under Ange.
Oh, now I get you. I get you. So you're saying basically keep Ange in and things will get worse. Look, I don't think that's the right way around it either. At the end of the day, but look, fair play to Change for Tottenham. I think they're doing a great job, and like I said,
they put in a hell of a lot of good work, and I big up to you lot. I know you probably don't watch this channel, but big up to you lot. You deserve every bit of credit you guys get, and look, just keep pushing with it, you guys. Simple.
Well, Rhino, is there anything else you want to touch on?
Right, that penalty, yeah. I saw it on Match of the Day, and that penalty, I honestly don't think was actually a pen. Honestly, I don't think it was.
All day long, a penalty, lad.
I don't think it was, because you've seen worse challenges in the past that have not been giving us penalties that should have been giving us penalties.
Yeah, I know, just because we've seen worse challenges in the past.
Maybe, and I'm just being a bit. Maybe I'm being just a bit nice about it because I'm a football fan over anything else. But I honestly just don't think that was a penalty. I think it was soft. Just my opinion.
I would argue it's actually intelligence from Brennan Johnson, to be quite fair. I think, he knew the tackle was coming in, and the minute he seen it, he just flicked the ball away and wrote the contact. I think, it's absolutely brilliant. When I look at what's been given against us in the past, I go back to the Champions League final, and I'll never, ever forgive this or Liverpool for this. But the guy hitting the ball off Sissoko's arm, getting a penalty.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not being funny, but, you got Liverpool fans go, well, that's intelligent play. They understand the rules. They used it to their advantage. So, I'm going to use the same here with Tottenham Hotspur. Look, I think it's very easy to, with what's going on at Tottenham this year, to sit here and go, it's not a penalty, this, that, and the other, but it's a penalty. I think the bigger controversy is the goal being ruled out. It's a clear goal.
So, problem is, right, is if you're giving penalties for that, then why are refs not being consistent about it?
That's a big problem. That is a big problem, you know, but that's not a Tottenham problem. That's a PGMOL problem.
Yeah, but at the same time, then they shouldn't be giving it for one thing and not another. And that's where I think it's a bit unfair on all the other clubs that have had the same sort of contact. Yeah, right. In this year, because there's surely been others that don't look like they've been penalties that have been given, and then there's others that haven't been given that are stonewall penalties.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just my feeling. Go on.
See, this is why I think VAR should not have even have come involved in the first place. It's a problem. It's not helping. It's a problem.
Mm.
It's okay for the Euros and the World Cup because somehow, miraculously, right, VAR seems to work perfectly well at the Euros and the World Cup.
Sometimes, yeah, or at least more so than the Premier League. I'd agree with that.
Thank you, Jack. So why can't we in the Premier League have something like that? Even the German league and the Spanish league have it better than us. We're in the 21st century, right? And we're having technology that doesn't work as good as it does in other countries.
The thing is, I just think it's a load of nonsense. Like, it's brought in to re-ref the game and come up with the correct decisions. But at the end of the day, even when these decisions are being made, they're still subjective to the individual at the end of the day. It's still human people making the decisions. So if human people are still making the decisions of having the hindsight of watching a replay, I'm not being funny. I'd much rather still leave it in the hands of the referee on the pitch to a certain, you know, that's where I'm at personally. I think it's now getting to the point where everyone's talking about VAR decisions, not about players, you know, some of the football, stuff like that. It's becoming a massive problem. But anyway, Rhino, we've got to keep this moving on, man. It's been a pleasure as always. Anyway, did you want to say something back there, though? Did you want to say something back there?
Yeah, I was actually just going to also say the Frankfurt game. I think when it comes to it as well, I think we need to be taking at least a 2-goal lead. And my prediction for this game, and then I'll give you the second leg prediction as well.
Well, just give us the first leg. We'll speak to you again before the second leg.
Will be, I'd say, 1-0, unfortunately. And I think it'll be it'll just us be going out at that point. That's a realistic.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Prediction. But obviously, it'll be who scores. Like Sava keeps saying, is who's going to score the most goals. In
that's
their
generally
home
how
game.
these guys work, though. Whoever scores the most goals is true. That's generally how it works.
But that's what I believe as well. Whoever's going to score. No, but it's whoever's going to score the most goals at home is what I believe is going to happen over these 2 legs. And if for some miraculous way that we do get through, I honestly think we ain't beating Lazio. If we do miraculously get through it.
Well, look, let's deal with Frankfurt first, and then, you know, if we get to the semi-final, we can deal with it there. But Rhino, really appreciate this, you know, coming on and having your say, my man. And we'll speak again soon, buddy.
Yeah, you guys have a good one. Yeah, and Jack, I hope you're feeling better soon, my man.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that, and good calling, brother. Thanks for showing up as well. You've been showing up for the channel a lot recently, so appreciate you, man.
Have a good one, Rhino.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys as well.
Have a good one.
Have a good rest of your week, buddy.
Yeah.
Peace out, my man. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye. Big up, Rhino. Delighted after yesterday's win. Not so optimistic heading into Thursday, though. But, you know, I'd argue many Spurs fans aren't really either. So, you know, you can't really get onto him for that. But look, let's take a few more comments and then let's crack on. got stateside footy now. It's good afternoon, fellas. How's the afternoon treating you guys? Treating me all right. Not great. So Jack, not great for Jack today. Was treating me well today. Big up stateside footy. Really enjoyed your input on the pre-match build-up yesterday, my man. So thank you very much, and we'll get you on again, in the near future. King Holland says, I hear that Frankfurt are an extremely dangerous counter-attacking side. Very, very rapid in transition. Stylistically, not exactly what we want. I just hope Ange and the coaches work on that aspect.
Yeah.
Jack, anything you want to say?
I think Marmouche was a really good player for them. Thankfully he's gone.
He was really without him?
I think they have struggled to a bit since he's gone. And they did have a really just dangerous forward line with him and then that guy who we were linked with at one point, but I think rightfully so for kind of some off the field issues. We didn't go for him, but that guy Hugo Ekitike, I believe, the French player, he's very, very tall. He's good. He's a very good player in my opinion, and he's very good with his feet for a big lad. Good touch for a big lad, sort of cliche, but very technical. And I do like a lot about his game. And I think those two together were quite devastating. They were kind of just a two-man attack all by themselves, but they still have some, kind of experienced players. Like I know Mario Götze is still in the team. There's a guy, who we were linked with in the past, I think named Ansgar Knauf. He's not a bad player either. And so they have some decent guys who have some experience in that side, but they have been a weaker team since Omar left, since he left their team. But I would agree with the counterattacking, emphasis that they have. That is sort of their style.
Look, some would argue that's our kryptonite, or what we're not good against. So look, it's going to be a big, big game Thursday night, King Hoddle. Great breakdown from you and Jacko, though. Big Bundesliga experts. Ricky Nato says, "Evening, brothers. I feel good to smile again after a long time. Come on, you Spurs." And you know what? I'm just going to smile between now and Thursday because I might not be able to smile again for another long time. You're absolutely spot on there, Ricky. Brilliant there. And Stateside Footy also says, gaining momentum, but mostly gaining confidence from a win does wonders for the collective. It reminds you that you're capable of beating anyone. That's the type of mindset you want heading into Thursday. Absolutely spot on with that. And this will crack me up. Well done, Lester. You managed to go 2 minutes without conceding. And then DJ Samuel with the super sticker. Big up, DJ Samuel. Good to see you. How's life treating you, my man? What's the super sticker, Jacko?
Just rolling that cap backwards, except for maybe a bit of a rally time, DJ. That would be a baseball reference.
Confidence is flowing through him now.
Yeah, he's gone for maybe the Spurs style there ahead of our match on Thursday. But he's looking good, DJ, feeling good. And, listen, man, it's nice to at least have a win so that we don't have to talk about any real further drama, about the team. We can just sort of go into Thursday, whether you're really confident or not really confident. It's just nice to have picked up a win yesterday, DJ, and put the rally caps on, my man. Appreciate you, brother, and looking good as always.
No, big up the DJ. I really appreciate the support, brother, and hopefully you're keeping well. Mark Jones also says coaching staff not good enough. No one has improved. Look, I think that's, that's something I might actually go and look into over the summer, actually. And, upon my findings, I will let you know. I think that's something we definitely need to look into. I don't want to make my judgment yet because, I want to make sure I have a good understanding of what everyone's, in charge of delivering and stuff like that. Like I've done with the medical department, I wouldn't go early on it until I've done my research. So I'm going to do that first. And then, but I definitely think that it's maybe something to look into for sure. And then big up DJ AK, good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. But look, let's keep it moving. Let's crack on. I think the next guest we have is Daniel Larson, and then we will be ending with Michael. I'm going to take the link out now. It's been up an hour. Actually, it's been up nearly an hour and a half because we put it up early. So, I think that's more than enough time for people to register their interest. So, Jack, if you don't mind taking that down for us, and I'll bring on the next guest, and Daniel Larson. Big up, Danny boy. How are you keeping? Oh, big up, Truth Sets You Free. Great to see you as well.
Yeah, I'm good. Good.
You keeping well? How are you feeling after yesterday's win? Because, look, a lot of Spurs fans weren't really happy with that second half performance yesterday, Daniel. Were you the same, or are you just happy to get the win?
Nah, I don't really care, to be honest. It's not going to change my anything. My opinions.
So you're going into Thursday pretty nervous then? I would guess.
Yeah, of course, of course, dude.
Do you think it will go, Daniel? Like, are you feeling like there is a chance that Spurs get a win, or are you just kind of just expecting the inevitable that we're going to be disappointed? Do you think do you have any hope inside you that Spurs can pick up a win against this Frankfurt team?
I'm sorry, but how is this team giving me hope, to be honest? Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Like, people say, it's only Frankfurt. We've lost to shittier teams.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Hoffenheim, Hoffenheim. We struggle against Hoffenheim. German team. So this is where I'm struggling. I know people are going to be, all power to them, but I can't be like that.
No, look, I think you're absolutely spot on. You even look underneath Antonio Conte, who, look, I like Ange Postecoglou, but I think Antonio Conte is a far superior manager. We end up losing the likes of NS Moore and stuff like that. The reality is you can't take, earlier on in the group stage, the likes of Karabag, I did have that where it's just like, don't come to me with how many leagues they've won out there. It's a joke. Me and Jack would win a league out there along with you up front, Daniel. You know what I mean? It's disgraceful. But, now is the time where you do got to start respecting the opposition you're coming up against. 100% agree with you on that. In terms of lineup, look, fullbacks. I mean, Jack put in a question there. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion who's going to start right and left-hand side. I'm probably actually robbing Jack's question here, but anyway, I'll do it anyway. Who do you want to see play at fullback Thursday? Because, like Jack alluded to, they are a good counter-attacking team. You prioritize defense first, but at the end of the day, I think we've got to get the job done at home. So do you go with Paul on Spence then, or do you bring a Doji in and give yourself a bit more defensive solidity?
I go with Paul on Spence, I think. Because Doji has been dreadful. Yeah. Absolutely dreadful. Defensively and attacking. You can't link up play. I mean, I remember at Chelsea, what the hell was I watching? You feel like you never played football.
Yeah.
Couldn't link up with Son or anything. You just, so no. I don't, and it's so sad to say because, Jesus.
Because do you like Destiny Udogie, but you just feel like he's having a poor season?
Yeah, of course. I said he was going to be young player of the season before this season.
Hey, man, we've all had shocking predictions. If we look back at it, with how this one has gone. I mean, do you think like there's just are we better off just going with that dynamic of Spence and Son? Because it seems like there's a good sort of chemistry between Spence and Son, maybe more than what you're saying. Destiny Udogie and Sonny just haven't been able to link up with each other.
Yeah, 100%. And then, with Spence, you can definitely get that more safer in defense as well. And he can get up there as well.
Do you think Spence is playing better on the left as well?
That's actually good. He's been better there, actually, which is mental. I think he's actually had better games as left back than right back.
I'm not even sure if I know why, but do you have any guesses as to why that might be?
Yeah. God knows. This is Spurs, God knows.
There are already harder things to explain with Spurs right now. And I mean, what's your forward line then? That's kind of the, because with the fullbacks, it's important that they have the right, forwards and wingers, to play with them. So, Spence and Son on the left, but who do you go for on the right? Brennan Johnson or Odebear? It's a tough one.
I go for Odebear, to be honest.
Why?
It's a little bit more excited,
Yeah, it gets you more excited, gets you off your chair more.
100%.
Okay. Do you think we need a goal scorer like Johnson for this game, or do you think we need a more creative player? Because that's the difference between them, right? Is one's more creative, but the other one scores the goals. Yeah,
that's true as well. It's so hard, but I think for most of the game, I think Odebear's going to be better start and then bring on Johnson. If he can just get lucky and get in there some place, get a tap in.
Let us know, though, everybody in the chat, though, because I've seen some people go Johnson. I'm seeing some people maybe coming out with Odebear, and I think it's probably quite split, amongst people on this, because at the end of the day, it is only Southampton that Brennan Johnson did score against, but did score the goals. And, when we have gotten some big score lines before, Brennan Johnson's usually on the end of it.
He's a top scorer. Fuck me. Jesus Christ.
What do you make of that then? Do you think we've been too harsh on him, despite him being the top goal scorer? Or do you think, it's...
No, come on. Okay, he can get in there, he can be in the right place at the right time, but Jesus, everything else is shocking. And hearing people playing at a 10. That's a 10. What the fuck is that? What am I hearing? Oh, generally.
That was Dermo. That was Dermo. No one else. Only Dermo.
Dermo, I love you, but what the I need some of that. Fucking hell. Creativity.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You can't even cross the ball.
Although, don't argue against Chelsea and Southampton. He's
Oh,
starting to.
one out of fucking 100.
No,
Congratulations.
look, I agree with you, but he is starting to cross a ball. Hopefully, we start seeing this from him moving forward, is I guess what I'm trying to say. But Daniel, when
I
you
hope
look
so.
at the team, everyone has different areas of where they think the major surgery needs to be had. Some would say the back line, which conceding too many goals. Some would say the midfield is just being opened up. And some, like me, would say the forward line is absolutely shit and needs to be fixed. Where do you think the biggest overhaul needs to happen in this squad over the summer? And why?
I think probably the attack, because in attack we look so fucking clueless. Couldn't score in the brothel sometimes, I think defense is because of the manager, why we can see it hell about, and he makes the defenders look bad. That's
Okay.
my,
You think the line is way too high, basically.
I mean, yeah.
And the defender at the back post is appalling as well.
Yeah. Midfield, I think there's, of course, the people who need to go. Basuma is one of them. Bentancur, maybe.
What is it you don't like about Bentancur? Like, maybe enlighten me and Jack, because I do think that me and Jack are people that maybe appreciate Bentancur maybe more than what other people do. So for someone like you, maybe, who, look, I don't think you hate Bentancur, but maybe you have your doubts about maybe he's the midfielder that we need. So maybe enlighten us maybe what we're missing, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's turned different. He's turned into this interception. He just interception ball, winning the ball back. He's just passing. Is
that more him being played in the wrong position, though? Because that is what you need from your six.
I was going to be fair, come to that. I think Ange as well. I think he's crap under this manager as well. Because I see Uruguay. People say when they play for Uruguay during the international break, you look brilliant. So I think that's also a manager issue. Because I just see now, he just like, he loses the ball and then wins it back. Oh, that's great. But he's turning into this like sort of just man marker, just winning the ball back. Because when we saw him before when joined, he could pass the ball, he could score a goal. Now it's just like winning the ball. And of course, it's great, but I need more, dude. I need more.
No, look, do you know what? I can fully understand that. I think, look, it does come down to what's required out of them in the number 6 more so than in the number 8. And look, if we dominated a lot more possession and stuff like that, you would actually see more of it in possession. Out of possession, I do think, in that number 6 role, maybe because, look, I would probably change my answer for seeing Archie Gray there a lot more. But he is exactly what we need in terms of snuffing out that play in that number 6 role. That is more or less your primary job out of possession. But I do take into account what you said, and I think there's a fair argument to be made that he is better higher up. We could use him higher up in that number 8 role, a bit like what Conte done, right? In the Conte too, Højbjerg sort of sat a little bit, and it was Bentancur charged with getting forward. And I do agree with you. He scored goals. We've seen a lot more from Bentancur in that aspect. I do agree with you on that one for sure. Anything else you want to speak about, Daniel? Though I've really enjoyed this. That was a good conversation on Bentancur.
There's a lot, to be fair. I'm glad I actually came on, because I thought I didn't have anything to say, but I did actually have lots.
Quickly, Kulusevski could return to the team on Thursday. Do you throw him in straight away, or do you keep him on the bench?
No, you can't throw him straight away, because I could just see him get easily injured again, to be honest.
Yeah, so better as an impact sub, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think Van de Ven is not fit at all, to be honest.
Oh, that's your conspiracy that he's injured again?
I just think he's not 100% fit. I think there's something still like
Mickey Van de Ven.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's there Thursday night. We really need him.
I think it's there, but I just think there's a little bit issue still.
75%, like kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I also actually want to talk about Romero a little bit, because I've been very critical of him this season. But I will say, like, there's 20 different more issues at the club than him before him. Know what I mean?
Would you not argue he's made I know we've been bad, but would you not argue since his return we have looked a lot better defensively? And look, that's not saying much, but we don't concede anywhere near as much shots on goal or open shots on goal and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen more, and I've been contemplating, because I've been very critical. And to be fair, there is a very, very good defender, and I wish. And again, I blame the manager for this as well. How bad he's looked at times, to be honest.
Well,
And
what do you think is the case we do this summer? Look, we can sit here. Look, I want to keep him. I think most people should be on the side. They want to keep our best players at the football club. But what do you think he will do in terms of the summer? I think someone put it in here. Do you think he will look to make the move personally, or do you think he will, sort of commit himself to Tottenham Hotspur? Because the reality is, I think he's got 2 years on his contract come the summer, and if he doesn't commit, then you would argue the club do have to sell this summer to get the best possible price.
Well, I'm struggling to believe he wants to stay here if you don't get any European football, And if
do you think a change in manager could maybe change his mind if we bring in the right guy that maybe he believes in? But then you're sort of getting into a Kane territory, right? Where you're trying to bring in managers to appease a player. Yeah,
it's dangerous, that, isn't it? So the thing is, if he wants to leave, we can't keep him, and there's no point in keeping him, sadly, even though.
No, fair enough.
And it's so sad because I remember when Conte joined first that season. It was his first season, actually. He was amazing, Romero. But he hasn't gone over that. He hasn't grown, really.
Yeah,
but
look,
again, I will blame the manager again. And also working with a lot of different managers.
No, look, I don't think that's an argument to make. Has he become a better player over time since he's been here? I think that's a fair argument to make. But you know what, me personally, I think I would like us to, try and keep hold of him, see if we can get Europe next season. And then if we don't, then you will have to sell him. But me personally, I don't think we should be knee-jerked or even forced into it this summer to a large degree, because at the end of the day, we can sit here and say, let's get the best price possible. We've done that for Harry Kane, and look what we bought out of it. So, for me, I just sort of I don't buy that argument anymore, that the money's going to improve us to a large degree. But Daniel, really appreciate your time this evening. I think, the Bentancur and Romero conversations, very good conversations, and thank you for your time, my man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Big up, my man. Appreciate
it. And also, see you back with us, Daniel.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. And I will also say, whoever I manage out, of course, 100%, but I want to win this Europa League so bad. And it's nothing to do. This is this is bigger than a manager or anything.
Yeah, you're right.
The Europa League run shouldn't be about one individual. It's about everyone together. You're spot on.
Because
absolutely
God, if we win this Europa League, Jesus Christ, I don't know what I would go around run around butt naked in the fucking city center.
Honestly, if we win the Europa League, I think many people, we'll all calm down a little bit and see what we do next season, because at the end of the day, we'll be content. We want a trophy. And then after that, then it's about pushing on and sustaining that. But Daniel, really appreciate your time this evening. Absolutely great last message there, that this shouldn't be about one individual. It should be about Tottenham Hotspur. Absolutely spot on. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
No, thanks for being patient, Daniel. Have a good evening, brother. Okay. See you soon. See you Thursday.
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye.
See you, my man. Bye-bye. Absolutely great comment there, and Holly agrees. And by the way, great to see you down at the protest, Holly, yesterday doing your bit.
Great picture.
Fair play to you. Fair play to you. Great picture as well. Yeah, absolutely great picture. I think we brought it up in Twitter Reacts, actually. And big up Foggy Forum says, Romero Guay, Dave. Look, have him, Romero. Do you know what? Guay, Van de Ven, Romero, and Danzo. Perfect. Sell on Radu Dragosin. Absolutely brilliant 4 choices moving forward. I don't think we should have to sell Romero to go after someone like Guay, to be honest with you. I think, we should look at it that with Romero's or with Van de Ven's hamstrings, it's very dicey going forward how many games he's actually going to be available for every season. Mark Guay played superbly on the left for England, superbly on the left for years for Palace when he was playing beside Anderson. So for me, I would bring him in. I actually really like the kid. I love how humble he is. I love his interviews. For me, a guy like that's humble and produces that on the football pitch. Absolutely perfect for what we need. So yeah, I would argue both of them, Foggy Foam. But maybe that's just me being greedy and unrealistic. No, Tottenham, it ain't gonna happen. But I would rather stick with my boy Romero, to be honest with you. No one makes me, honestly, I didn't think anyone could make me as happy as I was celebrating a Harry Kane goal. But Romero and Papa Matasar do bring me very, very close to it for some reason. So big up on that, my guy. But look, I think we're on to the last guest of the evening, and we haven't seen him in a while. It'd be great to speak to him again. Let's bring him on. Michael, or Michal in Irish, or Michal, for Polish. But how are you, Michael?
Big up, boys. Long time no see. It's really long time, by the way,
Where
because
have you been?
whenever you guys came on, I just couldn't find the time to join. It was so strange because
with all the games coming in,
yeah,
and all the stuff, you got to try and fit it in where we can, and it has been a bit, all over the place.
Hybrid,
Now that's calming down. We are trying to get back to every Monday again, so it's great to see you, my man.
Yeah, because I got used to it being at a certain time zone, time point. Sorry, so I arranged time, but recently, of course, due to the fixture congestion, you guys were just moving it around a bit. So no, here I was doing something with the missus, here I was doing something else. So I just couldn't find the time. And
how did all your exams go, by the way? I meant to ask you. You were doing exams there for a long, or something for college there for a while, weren't you? How did all that go?
Oh,
was that you or was that the missus?
No.
Maybe it's
that
not
was.
you. I thought you were.
I think Michael graduated, a bit ago, did his thesis and everything, and got it approved.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you finished that all. Yeah.
I did my thesis 1.5 years ago. I think I defended the thesis. Yeah.
Jesus
but
Christ,
I have good news. I found the job finally. I'm not.
Congratulations.
I finally have. Finally bring money to the household. Not much, but it's still better than sitting around doing nothing. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm super happy.
Lad. Yeah, no, absolutely. Congratulations. You're going to feel like a new man now, lad. So you are, honestly, you feel like a new person. You're going to have the money in your pocket you didn't know you had, lad. You're going to love life. But look, I presume you watched yesterday's game. You watch every single game, to be fair. I mean, what do you take away from yesterday's game? I think many people were happy with the your first half, but very underwhelmed with the second half.
Yeah. Listen, I think you nailed it. You nailed it, right? I think we weren't impressive in the second half. The first half was okay, but again, everything from yesterday, I have to caveat with saying that we played against bloody Southampton, who are absolutely dreadful. So I don't take much from it, right? I think we did our job.
I guess the question I'm trying to get out, though, Michael, I suppose, is who do you blame for the second half? Do you blame the players, for not going at them in the second half? Do you think it's managerial instructions? Because I'll give you what Postecoglou sort of had to say off the back of it, and then maybe give us what your thoughts are on it. Yeah. But he says, we allowed Southampton to get a little bit of rhythm. We were really sloppy with the ball, and the substitutions we made didn't really make the impact I wanted them to. Do you think, so basically, do you think, for me, that sounds like Ange Postecoglou didn't instruct them to do that more or less they sort of took that off their own back? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this team's morale is really low. I don't think they play with confidence. And I also think it was kind of the thing of they were 2-0 up. They pretty much knew they aren't going to lose. And I also have a feeling that Southampton knew that they are going down. They are not going to win, so they just threw a kitchen sink at it because Southampton looked like all they wanted to do is score a goal to at least prove something to the fans, right? To at least give them something. So I kind of felt like we didn't really want to try the players, right? And Southampton wanted to try really hard. Which, listen, I don't think this should be the case. I think still with us not trying, we should be dominating them and not allowing them the same amount of shots as we did, because that was a bit watching Southampton play us off the park in the second half was a bit embarrassing. But honestly, with how this season has gone, I don't really pay attention to it. I just let it slide because the amount of hardships and the amount of disappointment I had this season with following Spurs made it so that I don't really care if this happens, right? The only thing I care about this season is the Europa League. I'm not confident we are going to.
Before we get into that Europa League, though, I do have one more controversy around yesterday's game that I do maybe want to touch on with you. Is the whole fiasco around the penalty, because looking back on it, even around this sort of yesterday, myself and Jack were even divided on it to a certain degree. Jack was, I'm not going to say pissed off annoyed, but Jack was maybe questioning, look, Johnson deserves to take that penalty, whereas I'm sitting there and I'm like, look, at the end of the day, the best penalty taker has to take it. If we miss that and they get another chance, you don't know what could happen. And, but the reality is, the whole fiasco ain't good. And I do credit Johnson for not making a bigger deal out of it after the decision was made. But in general, you got one player that wants to take a penalty, and then, which is probably going against who the designated penalty takers are in certain situations. What do you make around that whole situation? And who do you think is right at the end of the day? Because I do feel for Johnson. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Premier League hat-tricks do not come around every opportunity, every day, and you're never going to get an opportunity to take one. And once you get a Premier League hat-trick, everyone sort of remembers you to a large degree because that game will always stick out in their mind. So who do you think was wrong and who do you think was right in that situation?
Yeah, so by the way, I've even seen some like Spurs fans doing the shameless thing of like wanting to do the shameless thing of Saka didn't score a hat-trick yet and Brennan Johnson did, right? So by the way,
I'm not shameless to be fair.
Yeah, I respect that, right? When you have nothing, you have to find something to banter, right?
Yeah.
But, honestly, when I saw the penalty, and especially it was like surprising for me because of how late it was in the game. If it was like 70th minute or something, I would understand it more that the best penalty taker took the penalty. Yeah. But for me, it was a bit surprising considering how late in the game it was. I actually wanted Johnson to take the penalty, and I'm not his biggest fan.
No, you don't even have the caveat with that at the end of the day. You're just asking, who do you think should have took it? Who do you think's right? You can still say you want Johnson to score his hat trick, even though you don't think he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, so that was exactly my thoughts, right? Even though I don't necessarily think he's good, I think it would be just nice for the guy to get a hat-trick, right? I have nothing against him, like, personally. I always say this, right? I rarely have something personal against players or managers. So if they get a chance to do something, that they will remember, in their future or whatever, right? I want to give them the opportunity. So yeah, overall, I was a bit surprised. By the way, I don't know if you saw the like the snapshot of not the snapshot. Like there was a video from the stand. Someone took it where like Johnson picked up the ball. Porro walked up to him, took the ball off him, gave it to Romero, and Romero gave the ball to Tell, right? Which, on one hand, I kind of understand that when I kind of understand where the designated penalty takers are not on the pitch, then the captain decides who takes the penalty. I know it's a bit like convoluted, but I understand it from that point. I was just a bit surprised that
Porro deserve a lot of credit there, actually, though, for taking a bit of responsibility and keeping a calm head in that moment and going, no.
I've seen divisive opinions on this, right? Because there were some people who were saying, like, if Johnson has the ball already, he got the penalty, he has the opportunity to get the hat-trick, why are you taking the ball off him? Which I kind of understand from one point, right? But from the other point, I also respect the fact that there is a leadership, like, that there is a pecking order, who makes the decision and all that stuff, right? So
yeah.
I was actually pleasantly surprised that Romero took the action and gave the ball to Tell. But I'm just questioning the decision a bit, right? I think just as a group of like friends and comrades in that team, I'm surprised they didn't give the penalty to Johnson anyways. Again, saying like with the caveat of how late it was in the game, right? If it was 70th minute, I would have a much different opinion, right? But it was 3rd minute or something, right? So I don't think I don't think it would have been bad to give him a hat-trick, right? And I would be happy for him to get his first hat-trick in the Premier League, right?
Yeah. No, do you know what? Sorry, I'm just eating a refresher.
No
so nice. But do you know what? I do understand that point, that you made there in terms of camaraderie, helping each other achieve and stuff like that. Maybe, give it to Johnson. I fully understand that. I think, look, at the end of the day, we scored it. That's the main thing. If we would have missed it, it would have been fucking more headlines, that we just don't need. But look, you did say you wanted to get in and start talking about Thursday, Michael. What's your thoughts heading into Thursday? We did get a bit of half decent news, that Kevin Trapp is out. He is a very good goalkeeper, so I'm delighted he's sort of missing to a large degree. But how are you feeling heading into Thursday? A lot of Spurs fans were looking for the team to maybe give them a lot more optimism heading into Thursday. Maybe they haven't got what they were looking for, and a lot of fans are still maybe worried potentially heading into Thursday, which, look, we've lost 20 games. I think it's fair, but how are you feeling?
Sorry. Sorry, my girlfriend was petting the cat,
you're all good,
I could hear her in the background. Sorry, guys. With Frankfurt, right? First of all, like I feel bad for Trapp for being injured. I never wish injuries on a player, right? But it's from our perspective, it's a great information that he won't be present, right? With that, I am happy. I think that weakens them substantially. But I am still concerned with the game, right? Listen, even though we didn't speak for like a few weeks, we still have the same issues as we did when we spoke last time, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? I still think this team, the performances haven't improved. I'm still not impressed by the tactics and by the usage of some of the players. And I also am starting to see the players that they don't like. They are feeling the end of the season. I think that they see it on the horizon, and I think it plays on their mind. I just hope that for this one occasion they can actually raise the game and try to do something in Europe, which is again why I said that Europe is the only thing I care about. Like, listen, I don't want to see us embarrassed in the league. I never will, right? I want the team to try to win as many Premier League games as possible, maybe scrape a top 10 finish or whatever. But the Europa League takes full priority, in my opinion. And the way I look at it is, I kind of see it as we will most likely win the first leg at home, but lose the leg away, right? Which further like gets into the whole thing of what you guys mentioned already, which is I think we need to take like a 2-goal cushion to their ground to actually have a chance of winning, right? Because I think 1 goal is not enough. Unfortunately, 1 goal is not enough with how many goals this team concedes. Like when was the last time we had a clean sheet? I think United at home, and it was a bit lucky to get a clean sheet that game. United are absolutely shocking in front of goal. And even though Frankfurt don't have Marmoush anymore, they still have quality forwards that can hurt us. So I kind of look at it from the point of view that we need to take a 2-goal cushion to their ground, but I also don't think we'll keep a clean sheet at home, which kind of would have to be a 3-1 scoreline to us. And do I see us scoring 3 goals? Not really.
I'll be honestly,
right?
If we score 3 goals, I would stroke one out. It's been a long time that we've done it in a big game like that. I would.
Yeah, same, by the way. No, but it's. I think someone from the team would need to step the hell up, right? And I just don't see. Son usually was the player that would do that.
Do you
but
think he hasn't
season.
another big game in him, though? I can't
Son?
help but feel. I look at Son and I can't help but feel he still has one massive game and a massive game like this in him.
Yeah, there is something in him, right? Because people rightfully criticize his performances because he hasn't been great. Let's not kid ourselves, right?
Yeah, I agree.
His performances has been substandard, and I think that's putting it kindly, right? But still, that there is something about him sometimes when I look at him and I'm like, it's just like a fraction of a millisecond faster if you take the decision like a bit faster. And I know you have it in you to just do us proud and to just give us something, right? So I just kind of hope it's Thursday, right? I just kind of hope that we roll the dice and we roll the good sound performance on Thursday, right? And I think if we manage a 2-goal cushion, then I think we can go there and actually try to stinkhouse a win. Because like they would have to score 2 goals to take us to penalties, which they are fully capable of, by the way. I'm not saying that 2 goals is a definite win, but you know
it gives
there
us
is
a real
hope at
good
least.
chance, though.
Yeah.
It gives you real good hope.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree with you. Look, I just think Thursday it's probably, you know what, it's our biggest game of the season. You know, the pressure is on. We have to deliver at home. I don't think any Spurs fan is confident leaving it going into that away leg. You know, you look at some of our away games in Europe this season, you know, we don't have great results away from home.
We are shocking in Europe.
Yeah, we lost
Away.
to Galatasaray away from home. You know, we're not great away from home in Europe whatsoever. And this predates Conte, by the way. This is a club issue. It's been like that for a long time. You know, Conte, Nuno, embarrassing ones there as well. Jose going out to Dynamo Zagreb. And I think we actually had like a 2-0 going out there that day. You know, we end up being slapped up and stuff. So anything can happen. But I do agree with you. It's got to be done in this first leg. And I think there has to be a massive understanding around that. And look, do you know what? I hope the atmosphere is absolutely intense Thursday night. And I would like to see it be like that from 1 minute all the way through to 90 minutes, no matter how that game is going, even if we're not playing great. We got to make that place rocking, because they will do that to us next week. You know, out there, regardless of how they're playing, how it's going, they will be bouncing up and down that stands, and we will be rattled. We've got to do the job this leg. But Michael, anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you want to speak about before we let you go, my man? It's been a great call.
Yeah.
Been good. It's long overdue.
Yeah, one thing with what you said, right? I'm a bit concerned about the atmosphere at our stadium. I just think whenever I watch our games, right, and I know League and Europa League is different, right? But we are so flat that the atmosphere is non-existent pretty much, right? Like there is barely any singing. Usually the loudest chant you can hear is "Leave you out," right? Which is a good thing, by the way, but you get the point. It's not like we are. Yeah, it's not like we are necessarily behind the team, and I just struggle to see our fan base suddenly like flipping a switch and going full pelt in the Europa League, right?
I think the club should be putting stuff out though over the next couple of days, or Postecoglou. I'm sure Postecoglou will mention it in the pre-match press conference, but you know there should be a concerted effort for the club though, right, to try and get a good atmosphere for Thursday night.
Listen, I think it's bare minimum for the club to do something, right? I think if this club was serious and they really wanted to impress and get the fans together and try to rile them up, right, you would probably do something like a tifo. Like I think the club should organize a tifo, or oh Jesus, the cat just ran into the room. Sorry. They should do something like a tifo. They should do maybe like some I know they already did the trumpet thing, and we have a drummer and we have like different things, right? But
I'm not sure I'm having the trumpet anymore, to be honest. I've been there for it, the North London Derby. I'll be honest. I think it actually killed the atmosphere at the opening start of the game, having the trumpet before the North London Derby. I think, just letting the fans naturally build it up ahead of the game for like something like that is far more impactful than the trumpet. Nothing against the trumpet guy. Looks like a guy I'd have a great night out with if I still drank. I'm not personal against him. I'm just not sure I'm having the trumpet in terms of an atmosphere builder.
Yeah, honestly, because as you know, I was at the game, right? By the way, I have to show you something.
Yeah, you had a chip over there, Bournemouth.
I actually have it here.
Oh yes.
I saw that photo that you put in the group chat. It's great.
Yeah, I've got that. It's a lovely jersey, lad.
I am so stoked I got it, by the way. It's such a beautiful kit. I never expected it to be there, by the way, because like I actually didn't at first I didn't plan to go into the club shop, but I did, right? And we were just going through the shop, and honestly, boys, like £120 for a shirt, right? And especially like for me, £120 for me in Poland is
huge money.
It's fucking a lot. It's seriously.
I remember
right?
to put it into context, like I've worked with a lot of Polish people over here in Ireland and that, and they always say like a weekly wage, they could live like a king in Poland for a month over there. That just put it in context to people.
Yeah. So just as an example, right? My current flat we live in with my girlfriend is like 60 square meters, right? And we pay like 1,800 zlotys each, right, for it, which 1,800 zlotys is something like £350, right, each for the flat. So basically, like a shirt would be 1/3 of what I pay monthly for a 60 square meter flat, right, which is a lot, right? So, and I was going through the shop, £120, and this one was 40. Right, so I was like, I'm snapping that up. £40 is something I can easily pay, right? But coming back to the topic of the atmosphere, I am a bit concerned, right, with the atmosphere thing. And I was at the game against Bournemouth, and honestly, the trumpet was a bit cringe. I'm not going to lie, especially because it wasn't far away from me. So I was happy that I could, sing the song, but the trumpet, I don't think it was necessary. I think the fans can just do it by themselves. They usually did it anyways, right? So I get the idea with a trumpet. I'm just not sure if the instrument and the setup is right?
Do you know what it is for me? It's like, I can get it for some of the smaller games, right? Where the atmosphere, but the big games, they're sort of self-motivating to a large degree. And, I remember the North London Derby, I'm looking around for the trumpet. 2 minutes later, I see he's on top of the cockerel. I was like, fuck me, we're going for it here. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I really hope the performance matches, because if it doesn't, it's embarrassing. And it was over by halftime. But anyway, Michael, really appreciate you coming on. Great to see you again, my man. And look, come on, you Spurs, big game Thursday. Hopefully we get the fucking job done.
Yeah, hopefully, boys. And one last thing, big up to all the protesters. I am so proud of every single person that was there. If it was cheaper for me and I had the time, I would do it myself. I was really saddened that there were no protests when I was there when we played against Bournemouth. But if there were protests, I would happily join. And listen, change for Tottenham. They are doing brilliant things, and I hope they keep on pushing. I know I saw a bit of like other live streams with them, and I seen them saying that they plan to do those sort of protests on the remaining home games. So I hope they do. I hope they push through. And listen, we probably won't get like 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever, right? But what I saw yesterday and what I saw the first time they did it, right, was far beyond my expectations, right? I didn't expect as many people to turn up, and it just goes to prove that people are fed up with how this club is going. Because I always say, for me, this club is a sleeping giant that chooses itself not to wake up, right?
Stays dormant intentionally.
Yeah,
I agree.
the Spurs stay dormant by our own choice, not by someone else's, right? So I think plenty of people feel the frustration, and it's building up, and especially this season with how shit we've been in the league, it just builds more and more frustration. And I just hope we keep on pushing with it, right? And listen, maybe Daniel Levy won't sell because of the protest, but maybe just maybe he will invest like 20% more effort. And it's not even about the money, because he invests the money. For me, it's more effort and more ambition, right?
Exactly.
Just raise that wage bill by 10%, right? Just spend that 10 million more when you need to get the player, instead of going for a cheaper option. Maybe the protest pushes him to do that. And I seriously think this squad and this team doesn't need much to actually be respectful, right? I'm not saying we have to challenge for the league, but what is happening this season is absolutely shambolic. But I think we can be respectful in the next season if we invest rightly and we put things together. Maybe not around Ange, because as you know, I don't necessarily believe in Ange. But even if he stays, right, I think that like maybe even with him, we can be more respectful than 14th, right? Let's be honest about it.
No, look, 100%. Look, our summer transfer window has been much better. Look, my whole disappointment last summer was we had a chance to be a lot better than what we were this year, just by buying the right couple of 4 or 5 players and kicking on them. We chose not to do it. And, the same sort of stands for this summer. We're still relatively in that same position. Let's see what they're going to do. But absolutely agree with you. I think change for Tottenham are doing a fantastic job. Look, if there is one before the Palace game, I'll definitely go to it myself. So, look, let's wait and see. But, Michael, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate it. And it's great to see you. You're looking great. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Big up, boys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for staying on, Michael. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Bye-bye.
Good night, boys. Bye-bye.
I love seeing people, making them trips over. It reminds me of when you first got there, and, you got into the state. You actually had a really good one. You got to see Glenn Hoddle and everything. Actually, you had a really good
I was
experience treated. First time around. If Carlsberg done experiences, that would definitely be one of them.
It was 11 out of 10. Yeah, it was amazing. Good to see Michael back. Good to see some people coming back. The previous fan show was definitely nowhere near as busy, and so it's nice to see some people coming back. And hopefully they get busier and busier again, especially if Spurs do pick up a win this Thursday night, for sure.
No, for sure. But look, guys, that's it from us this evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed, all the stuff we've done today. We've done Twitter reacts. If you want to get over and check out our big up profile, you can check out our tactical analysis, breaking down the game over there, running through clips and stuff like that. And we're also back tomorrow. We will be doing a debate show tomorrow evening, our usual Tuesday night stuff at 6:00. panel show, whatever you want to disguise it or call it. And then, after that, we will be heading over to our Big Up platform, and we will be doing some Champions League watch-alongs, tomorrow and Wednesday. So if you find yourself watching the Champions League, you want to tune in, listen to what we're saying on the game, or you actually want to come on and have your say, which is all free to do over there, by the way. Just feel free to click on the link here, get across. We'll remind you again tomorrow anyway, but feel free to click on the link here and get across. But look, do you know what? It's just been nice to have a stress-free day.
Yeah.
Do content about winning for once, actually. It's been such a nice day in terms of that, not having to sit here worry about all the problems and, all this bullshit, being called not a fan and all that crap. It's just good to actually win a game and just be positive and smiling for once heading into Thursday. And hopefully that can continue over the next few days. But guys, that's it from us. Jack, anything you want to say before we end off?
Just join us tomorrow for the Big Up stream. Would really appreciate it. The support we're getting over there does help us out a lot. And I think, tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be watching the Champions League. So watch it with us. Enjoy it with us. We'll be chatting about life, chatting about Spurs, chatting about everything while also watching some brilliant games of football. And then also maybe hope to see Arsenal crumble out against Real Madrid, which should be a lot of fun. But join us there tomorrow, everybody. Would look out for the posts on social medias and all that stuff. We post a lot about it. So just look out for those, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
I'll be the same. Au revoir. Whatever way you want to disguise it. Goodbye. Good evening.
Come on, you
keep
Spurs.
safe. See you tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs.